This week's episode of AEW Dynamite starts with the AEW World Tag Team Champions in action against the Hardys, and in a good match, FTR defeat the Hardys in 14 minutes 26 when Cash Wheeler pinned Jeff Hardy with a Goodnight Express. The match getting the show off to a strong start. We got a 78 for this. Dax and Cash showing excellent chemistry, teaming together. So did Matt and Jeff, as you'd expect. Both perfectly signed tag teams, and it gets probably one of my favourite shows that I've put together. It's such a strong card as well. It gets off to a fantastic start. Couldn't ask for a better start, really. 78 put this match together after FTR came under a bit of criticism in social media, being paper champions. Well, after FTR pick up the win, Dax and Cash decide to continue the onslaught. They both beat down Jeff and Matt. The attack doesn't last long though, as Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, the number one contenders to FTR's World Tag Team Championships, make the save. Dax and Cash grab their titles and leave. The Young Bucks help the Hardys to their feet. Matt Jackson grabs a mic and says, "We really gotta do all this again? If so, then I'm not sure about you, Nick, but I feel like getting this title match pushed forward to, I don't know, maybe next week here on Dynamite?" Matt Hardy also has a mic and says, "Hey, Young Bucks, you just gonna ignore the fact we're standing in this ring with you? You gonna forget the matches we had together? How about we travel down memory lane once more next week?" Matt Jackson looks at Nick. They both shrug in agreement. Matt replies with, "Why not? A pay-per-view worthy match? Let's give the fans what they want to see. Let's do it next week. Young Bucks versus the Hardys." We all know that's going to turn out great, that match, and that will open Dynamite next week, but we all know FTR are going to have some sort of involvement, seeing that they are the tag team champions. Matt and Nick, they are the number one contenders, and seems to be a bit of, maybe a bit of bad blood with Hangman Page after what happened at the end last week. It's Wednesday, you know what that means. Welcome one and all to AEW Dynamite. What a start to the show, and that was just the beginning. It's gonna be a slobber knocker. I'm sure it will be, JR. Just like last week, the qualifiers for both men and women's Casino ladder match at Double or Nothing continue. Hangman Page will finally get his hands on ACH of the Private Party after tensions have risen between them and the three. Hikaru Shida also will face Riho tonight. Which former women's champion is going to Double or Nothing? Wow, and that's not all. The second semi-final of the World Title Eliminator Tournament takes place in our main event tonight. For the first time ever, it's Kenny Omega against Darby Allin, who faces MJF in the final. And before we start the show here tonight, Tony Khan announced that Cody Rhodes will step into the ring against Orange Cassidy. The winner will face Miro for the TNT Championship at, you guessed it, Double or Nothing. So for me, this definitely has to be the strongest card I've put together for an episode of Dynamite. Let's have a look then at what's to come. The second men's Casino ladder match qualifier will see Hangman Page up against ACH. Shida, Riho, both former women's champion, will fight it out for a place in that Casino ladder match, and also just announced Cody Rhodes against Orange Cassidy. We're also going to hear from Chris Jericho what is next for him, and it's the big one, that main event, Kenny Omega against Darby Allin, who will face MJF next week in the final. MJF is backstage ready to talk to the camera. Let me recap the last couple of weeks for you dorks that have been living under a rock. Death Triangle attacked me back at Blood and Guts thanks to Warlow, thinking they could suffer me up ahead of my match against Pac last week here on Dynamite. How'd that work out for you, huh? Well, today it came to my attention that Death Triangle aren't doing much because their recklessness has cost them everything. Anyway, I digress. I went to Tony Khan and requested a match against them. Naturally, Tony was concerned for my welfare, not just because I have that big final against either Darby or Omega coming up, but because, well, I lack tag team partners. Until now. I know you won't be happy about this, Tony, but quite frankly, I couldn't give a shit. Take it up with Holiday's father/lawyer. MJF smirks as Richard Holiday and Alex Hammerstone from MLW walk in all smiles. They shake hands with MJF Dynasty walk off. So we've got that wild card match coming up later tonight then. MJF and Dynasty from MLW set to take on Death Triangle in 6-man tag team action. Should be great to see how that one turns out as we get 69 for that. Up next, it was agreed before the match that both Hangman Page and ACH would step into the ring without anyone on the outside. Anyone caught interfering would result in a double DQ. Hangman Adam Page makes his entrance alone, but ACH arrives with Big Will Hobbs. The referee demands Hobbs to leave, who is staring daggers at Page. ACH tells him it's okay and that he should go join Isaiah and Mark. He does eventually, but never takes his eyes off Hangman Adam Page. We could eventually see what we've been waiting for, Will Hobbs' debut in this save. In about that had great heat, decent wrestling, Hangman Page defeats ACH in 13 minutes 20 after a buckshot lariat. No funny business on the outside, just an out-and-out wrestling match between Page and ACH, and it is Page of the three that overcomes the supposedly leader of the private party, ACH, with a 71 rated match. The announcing quality lifting it, Hangman Page the better performer, but it's looking good at the moment for ACH. His in-ring performance really decent. ACH is out cold in the middle of the ring after the match. Hangman Page has his arm raised by Paul Turner, the referee, as he has now booked his place in the Double or Nothing men's casino ladder match. So that's Janela and Page so far. Page just at ACH and leaves the ring. Does this end the story between the three and the private party after tensions mounted to almost boiling point and it's come down to this? Hangman Page making ACH look an absolute fool in this match? I don't think so. We'll have to wait and see. We're backstage then with Renee. With me at this time, Kenny Omega. Kenny walks in shot and gets a little too close for Renee's comfort, with Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson all smiles. Renee continues, Kenny, last week Darby Allin threw the first punch ahead of tonight's main event. Any words? Words are meaningless at this point, Renee. Tonight, Renee, I'll go out there and I'll do what I always do. Win. Gallows and Anderson laugh along, with Gallows saying, Darby Allin, how a little punk-ass bitch like him has even got this far in this world title eliminator, or this business, as a matter of fact, is mind-blowing. After tonight, when Kenny here annihilates him, it's back to the small leagues. It's back to being that homeless chump who lives out the back of a van. Wow, the Elite ramping it up at the moment. Omega, Gallows, Anderson, they leave, laughing. They are properly ramping it up at the moment. And how about all these amazing segment ratings so far? We get a 70 for this one. How about Kenny Omega getting a little too close to Renee? And we all know who Renee is married to as well. And Kenny Omega has his sights set on Jon Moxley's AEW World title. But he has to overcome Darby Allin here tonight, and even MJF if he makes it that far. Orange Cassidy makes his entrance alongside Trent and Chuck. The lights then go out. Wrestling has more than one royal family booms through the arena. Cody Rhodes makes his entrance, and he is accompanied to the ring by the Enforcer, Arn Anderson. Once in the ring and before the bell goes, Cody shows some sportsmanship with Cassidy and the Best Friends, shaking their hands. Arn does the same. Mutual respect amongst these competitors. The winner receives a shot at Miro's TNT Championship at Double or Nothing. We get 69 for this segment. This match is just simply business between Cody and Orange Cassidy, who gets the shot at Miro's TNT title. In about that have fantastic heat and great wrestling, it's Cody Rhodes that defeats Orange Cassidy in 17 minutes after a beautiful disaster. Cody Rhodes with an 88 in-ring performance. Orange Cassidy would have 63. This show so far, we've absolutely killed it. The match getting the crowd even hotter. We get 78 for this. I was expecting that, to be fair. But I'm seriously looking forward to this main event between Kenny Omega and Darby Allin and what they're going to score, really. Is it even worth thinking about? Let's just see what happens. Well, anyway, after the match between Cody Rhodes and Orange Cassidy, Cody and Arn Anderson are discussing something about the win. Cody pulls away and then goes over to Orange Cassidy, sticks his hand out for him to shake. Trent and Chuck watch on. Orange Cassidy looks down at Cody's hands. Then out of nowhere, Trent and Chuck give the people what they want, sandwiching Cody in the middle. Cody seems a little taken aback, bit awkward as well, being sandwiched in amongst Orange as well. Arn shares a rare smile. You can see even his picture is not smiling. Cody then raises Orange's hand to a pop from the crowd. So the best friends, they accept it was just simply business. And Cody Rhodes goes on now to Double or Nothing to take on Miro for the TNT Championship. And I'm hoping to build that a bit like maybe Rocky against Ivan Drago. That sort of build. Whether Cody can come out on top, we'll have to wait and see. We see Alex Marvez backstage. He knocks on the Inner Circle locker room door and opens it to find just Chris Jericho inside. Chris, mind if I ask you a few questions about your Inner Circle and its future? The Inner Circle's future? There is no future. As you can see, Marvez, no one's here. Hager, Guevara, even Santana and Ortiz, they're all dead to me. Simple as that. Joke's on them though. You want to know why, Marvez? Because Hager isn't with the company anymore. Santana and Ortiz are off sniffing around a loser like Conan. And Sammy? Injured. And Cobb? Who cares about him? I know what you're getting at, Marvez, and no, this isn't a setback for me. I'm still as good as ever, and I'm unbeaten so far this year. We'll just forget what happened against Omega. And I will continue this nice little hot streak next week here on Dynamite. Now get lost, Marvez. Marvez exits the locker room. So the former Inner Circle members dead to Chris Jericho. It seems as though the Inner Circle has come to an end then. We'll have to wait and see how this one plays out as we head towards Double or Nothing. In a bout that had decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestler Riho defeats Hikaru Shida in 10 minutes 26 after a Northern Lights suplex. It gets a 48 this match, and it is Riho that now joins Chris Statlander in that women's casino ladder match, which will take place at Double or Nothing. Riho, the slightly better performer in this match, and that's not too bad. Both putting on, as you'd expect. I'm sure in real life it would be something really special to see between Riho and Shida. I'm sure they put in a great match. And we get a Double or Nothing quick promo after that match between Riho and Shida. For Double or Nothing, the biggest pay-per-view of the year. I see Double or Nothing as AEW's biggest pay-per-view. I mean, I know AEW only has 4 pay-per-views and they treat them all equally the same, but for me, Double or Nothing, I think, just edges it. And it will feature the likes of Omega, Moxley, MJF, Cody Rhodes, and Chris Jericho. We are just bumping up that overall show rating. Then we get the 6-man tag between MJF and Dynasty against the Death Triangle. In a decent match, Death Triangle defeat MJF and Dynasty. It was Pac that pinned Richard Holiday with a corkscrew shooting star press, the Black Arrow. Richard Holiday, Alex Hammerstone, just not up to scratch with AEW, unfortunately, but they are always an option for MJF to fall back on after those friendships were made. In his time in MLW, MJF put in a 70 rating. Penta with a 72, the better performer in this match. Pac, a bit disappointing there with a 68, considering he was he up towards the 80s last week in that main event against MJF. We'll have to go back and check that. But anyway, MJF is on the outside gathering his Dynasty friends. Pac grabs a mic and stands in between Penta and Rey Fenix saying, Maxwell, you're a marked lad now. Last week, you had the cheek to use that poxy little diamond ring on me. That was a no-no. And this week, hiding behind 2 old friends to do your dirty work. Time to stand up and face your problems like a man. You want to hope you beat either Kenny or Darby next week, because if you don't, I'll be waiting for you. Will be waiting for you a double or nothing in a match of our choosing. MJF is up on the entranceway. He looks a mix of scared and annoyed as Death Triangle stare him down. So MJF gonna be having to go all out if he wants to avoid a face-off with Death Triangle at Double or Nothing. And we'll find out who he faces in just a moment next week in the main event of the with that final of the World Title Eliminator Tournament. JR is up next. Well, folks, it's been a wild night here on AEW Dynamite, and we still have that huge main event to come. The first ever meeting between Kenny Omega and Darby Allin to determine who meets MJF next week in the final for a chance to face Jon Moxley at Double or Nothing for his AEW World Championship. Speaking of next week, we also have Chris Jericho against Scorpio Sky to look forward to, and again, both men and women's casino ladder match qualifiers continue, and let's not forget, for old time's sake, the Young Bucks step into the ring once more against the Hardys. Should be another great night here in AEW, and we hope you can join us for it. Get a 73 there for JR running down next week's cards. Again, it's stacked. Well, here we go then. It's time for the main event, the last semi-final of the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament. Who will face MJF next week for a chance to face Moxley for his championship at Double or Nothing? Kenny Omega makes his entrance. Darby Allin then skates out and down the ramp towards the ring and then stands by the apron, staring at Kenny Omega for a moment or two. Gallows and Anderson rush out and attack Darby from behind. The match can't officially get underway. Gallows and Anderson throw him into the steel steps, the fan barricade. Darby on the receiving end of a vicious beatdown. Gallows holds Darby up as Anderson smacks Darby's skateboard over his head. Refs and EMTs rush out to check on him as Gallows and Anderson break the skateboard in half. Kenny gloating in the ring. After 3 to 4 minutes, Darby comes around, climbs into the ring and wants the match to go ahead. The ref doesn't, but has no other option but to call for the bell. We get an 80 for this, the angle getting the crowd hotter. How is this match going to turn out? Kenny Omega against Darby Allin. You had to expect some sort of shenanigans before the match with Gallows, Anderson, Kenny Omega. It's helped Omega slightly. That beatdown with the use of the skateboard as well. It's helped Omega overcome Darby Allin in an 87 rated match. Oh my word, so close to getting up to into the 90s for the first time in this save. Kenny Omega does defeat Darby Allin in 13 minutes 28. Wasn't ever really going to last that long, seeing that we had that pre-match beat down to Darby Allin. It was so brutal, and Kenny Omega hits him with a one-winger angel, gets the 3 count, and we did have Gallows and Anderson at ringside. What a match. An 80. I think that is the best match that we've had so far in this save. An 87. I think it is. I know that we had the Young Bucks against SCU. I think that got an 85 not so long ago. But an 87, I don't think we've got that high before, which is amazing. So there we go. Kenny Omega is in the final of the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament against MJF. The match is set for next week. Another first time for Kenny Omega against MJF. Darby Allin gets up to a knee. Omega rides on him and hits him with a swift V trigger. Doc Gallows and Cole Anderson slide into the ring and beat down Darby Allin, who is defenseless. Kicks and punches. Gallows and Anderson then hold a lifeless looking Darby up by the arms. Omega points a finger gun at Darby. Good night and goodbye. Bang! And races into the ropes and comes bounding back, nailing another thunderous V trigger. Darby is out cold. Omega stands in between Gallows and Anderson over the top of Allin. All three too sweet. AEW Dynamite goes off the air. Darby Allin, wow, absolutely decimated here by the Elite, by, well, maybe a Bullet Club reunion with Omega, Gallows, Anderson. The Young Bucks not getting involved though. We'll take a note of that. What is this show going to score, though? It's got to be my favourite show that I've put together so far. I know I've said that a few times for various shows, but this, I think, tops it for me. And that main event between Omega and Darby Allin, their first ever meeting in this save. What's it got? An 80. My word, that is incredible. An 80 rating. I think we've got that once or twice for a Dynamite. But I think this one means more. A lot of the matches meant something. They had something behind it. A lot of the segments as well have really advanced storylines along nicely, especially the last couple of segments there of the show. Anyway, let's go and see how we've got on this week up against NXT. I'm expecting to have absolutely wiped the floor with them once again. So this week we got an 80 show rating. We had 9,800 in attendance, and this week we scored a 2.2 rating. Very consistent to compared to last week. We had 1.6 million viewers tuning in. We had a few more thousand over on the All Elite Network, as we had 310,000 there. Over on TNT we had 969,000. I think that's dropped slightly compared to last week, but overall I think that's enough to beat NXT this week. And yes it is. NXT got a 74 show rating. They got 1.99 TV rating with a total of 1.5 million viewers. Look at their BT Sports subscription. I think that's dropped ever so slightly as well. But overall, we've beaten them yet again when it comes to show rating and this time TV rating. Anyway, that's it for my favourite episode of Dynamite. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below as we are still charging towards Double or Nothing. See you all very soon. Thanks for watching.